Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this episode, they finally asked the question, was Alice the killer? So if you're new to this type of video, how I'm going to do this is that I talk about everything that happened in Season 2, Episode 5, titled The Tell. I do a whole recap, whole breakdown, gives my thoughts on the episode in general, slap a rating on it, and then at the end I talk about if my thoughts actually changed about who the killer is based on what happened in this episode. So if you're new here, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you're new. But let's talk about everything that happened in Only in the Murders in the Building, Season 2, Episode 5. Alright, so this episode begins with a flashback to the 70s where we see a young Oliver playing the game of Son of Sam. This sort of flashback was there to highlight two things, I think, in my opinion. One, that mystery has always been something that Oliver has had it drawn to. He's always been able to tell when someone has a tell, and like that's what helps him solve all these mysteries. So I think they were there just put in place, the origin of the game and how it's going to play into present day, and also that he knew Teddy from such a young age, and that will also play a part, as we'll see by the very end. So we get these flashbacks into Oliver as a kid, where he talks to his son and all that stuff. And then in present day, we see Charles go to Jan, and Jan talks about how, the murderer may be someone who's an artist. Are there any new artists that are coming to your lives? This is where I first started to think, like, okay, now they're making it super obvious that they want us to think that Alice is the killer, right? I always say this, that if they're making it too obvious, then it's probably not the killer. And this whole episode pretty much focused, like I said, on the question of, is Alice the killer? Even once Jan says, did an artist come into your life, the next scene is literally seeing Alice on the phone. I know a lot of people thought it was Alice. I also had her as like my third suspect on the list. A lot of people say the silhouette of her fighting Bunny, like that could be her. She has that equipment. She wants the painting. It all sort of makes sense. I'll tell you guys my opinion on Alice by the end of this episode, but I just thought it was super obvious at this point. Alright, so after this, we now cut to Alice and Mabel having a conversation. Alice says that she wants to host this art party, but her apartment is flooded, so she needs a place. Mabel says just have the party at my place. While she's sort of searching through the corridors after she hangs up, she finds a matchbox and might have blood on it or ketchup, we don't know yet. But she calls over Charles and Oliver and she shows them and also tells them at the party. So now we cut to the party. I thought this was a really fun scene. It doesn't really play too much into like the actual story. It's just a Son of Sam game, but I loved how like we got back into the 70s, like seeing Steve Martin dressed up, Oliver Short, Selena Gomez, just the way they all looked. It was like impressive with the makeup and costumes, and I thought it was like a fun vibe. And that whole scene was there to just pretty much say that, Oliver did think Alice was the killer. Same with Charles, because the whole artist thing that Jan was talking about. And Alice did sort of admit that she was lying, but not about being the killer. She was lying about where she was from, like she didn't go to Oxford. She was born in Essex County, not like some rich family, like she was born from a plumber. So she was lying about that and not lying about, being the killer and being involved in this whole stuff, right? As far as we know right now. So this whole party scene happens, it ends. We then see Oliver actually see Ivan trying to leave the money at Bunny's doorstep. And so now he confronts Ivan. And I thought this was really interesting because he's asking Ivan all these questions, like, are you involved in this whole murder? And Ivan's pretty much saying, like, no, you just want to return the money. And then we actually get to see the cam footage of the night before of when Ivan asked Bunny, who was that person that you were with? And she said, that person wasn't my friend. It was nobody, whatever she said, right? So we actually get to see an actual footage of them leaving. Unfortunately, the footage doesn't show us too much. I thought it was going to be a lot more. Instead, all we see is them have some sort of conversation. Bunny gets upset, storms out. We see this mysterious figure, but we can't really make out a physical description like Oliver says. It does look like a male figure to me. Like, just the mannerisms does seem more of a male. I even noticed that in the corridor scene. Like, it didn't really seem like Alice, but you never know. It could be a throwaway. They could be using someone else, like a male stunt double or just an extra or something, just to throw us off that it looks like a man but it's actually a woman. So you never know. But then also importantly, he also picks up the matchbox before he walks out, which means that, yes, whoever killed Bunny with the matchbox, like, it just sort of confirms that the person who was with the matchbox in the corridor was also the person that was talking with Bunny at the restaurant the day before she gave the money to Ivan. So it kind of just confirmed that, which I didn't really think we needed confirmation on that, but I guess it's a good little detail for us. But now in the closing moments of this episode, we see Mabel and Alice sort of make up. Mabel confronts her about why'd you lie, and she sort of explains herself, and they get just even more closer, I think, with their relationship. So we get to see that. We see Charles talk to Jan. He finds, I think he still likes her, I guess, because she even says, like, if you don't like me or whatever, then hang up, and he doesn't, and then they start talking. So he does still have feelings for Jan, even though she is like a psycho murderer. But now the big part is that there's this big revelation at the very end that connects with those flashbacks from the very beginning of the episode. So as we know, Oliver's son was doing that ancestry project with his son, and there's some DNA ancestry test or whatever, right? So we finally get the test back, and Oliver's son asked Oliver, "Are you sure, like, you're Irish? Because in the test it said that I was Greek." And so Oliver's like, "What are you talking about?" And then he thinks back throughout, like, his whole life, and it pinpoints him to, like, this party, the Son of Sam thing, where he said Teddy was Son of Sam, and then he said something like, "Are you hiding something else?" or something. And he sits in the middle, and he has his wife on the left and Teddy on the right. And as we know, Teddy Demas, that's a Greek name, and sort of implies from that scene that Oliver's wife had an affair with Teddy, and Oliver's son isn't actually his son, but it's actually Teddy Demas' son. So that's the big reveal, and then the episode ends, and that's it. So now my question for you guys is that, do you think he is actually Teddy's son? Or do you think that this is more of Teddy's manipulation on Oliver? Because he did say he's going to ruin his life, right? So maybe Teddy got his hands on this DNA test somehow, and actually made up a fake thing to make Oliver think that his son was actually Teddy's. So it sort of plays into Teddy's whole plan of his demise for Oliver. I think that will end up being it. I just could see it happening. I think it would make sense of how Teddy's role would be in the season and stuff like that. So my rating for this episode is 3.7 out of 5. I actually really liked this episode. I thought it was better than the last one. I had a lot of fun with it. I liked how there was a focus on Alice, and we got to actually answer some questions about her. Even though I don't think she's out of the woodworks yet. I don't think she should be just thrown out as a suspect, at least not yet. I would say that I really don't think it's her. Like, I know that some people still think it's her. I just don't. I still think it's Nina. I still think it's Nina and her husband or boyfriend, whoever that person was. And maybe he's the person talking to Bunny in the diner. That would make no sense, though. The person in the diner was there to talk about the painting. We pretty much know that, right? We know they took matchbooks from that place. I'm sure a lot of people did, maybe. Like Ivan said, that's where they keep the matchbooks. So it's something that they keep out there for customers to take. So he must have just had it in his pocket and dropped it when he killed Bunny. I don't think that's big of I don't think it's that big of a clue as the show is trying to make it seem in this episode, but I could be wrong. Now, I will also say that I don't think Howard's also the person either. I did say that in the last couple of videos. I think now that we see the cam footage of the person who probably did kill Bunny, I do think whoever was sitting at that diner was the person that did kill Bunny. And I guess the matchbooks do confirm that, like that person is the killer. So like, and that person doesn't look like Howard. Maybe it could be Alice, with like a hat on, covering up her hair or something. I do think it's a male though. She says not a friend. I know that it's not one of the three. It's really hard to pinpoint someone. I think like Nina's boyfriend does have like the silhouette of like a strong male like figure, and that's what it looks like so far from the footage that we've seen from this person. So I think it could be that person, but like, or maybe it's someone that we just haven't seen yet. It's so tough to read this show sometimes, but I guess I will say that my suspect list is still Nina and her boyfriend. I think they'd be working together. I guess Howard's number 2, and then I don't think Teddy Demas is playing into the murder. I don't. And then it's Alice at 3. I think it's one of those 3. If it's not one of those 3, I don't even know. But comment down below. What do you guys think of this episode? Do you guys enjoy it? Did you not like it? Who are your thoughts on the killer right now? Like, did anything change? Did your perspective or your choice change from who it was before this episode to after this episode? That's all I got for you. So if you're watching this, thank you for watching. Like always, please subscribe if you're new. Please like the video if you enjoyed this. And see you next episode. And we'll talk about it then. So have a great rest of the day, and I will see you on the next one.